Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolSomething.com, mana traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like you. My name is Evan Irwin, and get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Power Dragon.
What's up, everybody? And man, we had a lot of stuff go down, what feels like in the last 5 days or so. So we're not going to be short on things to talk about.
It's been a wild one. Ruben Bressler.
Hey, friends, how's it going?
I mean, it's going pretty well, and we will talk about how well that's going as we move on here. Now, if you missed our pre-show, patrons and subs to the channel get access to that extended version early, and we kick it off with our first pick and our promo code reminder. Check out CoolStuffInc.com. Use the promo code MagicMics to save 5% off anything in the store. You can use it as many times as you want. Single, sealed supplies, whatever. Get 5% off by using the promo code MagicMics and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions on Twitch at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. Thanks to CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every single day. And it's time to talk about an announcement or lack thereof, because there's an announcement of an announcement, which is, and then we know there's an announcement, and then there's the announcement. And the announcement for the ban restricted announcement on June 24th is that there isn't one. And nothing's changing in any of the formats. And stop me if you've heard this one, they're not going to ban anything in standard because there's a rotation coming in standard. I mean, you want to talk about things I've heard before in the past. But
I'll say this, though.
Go ahead.
I get the logic, but honestly, if it was something bad enough, go ahead and ban it. We'll just not have it for like 2 months or whatever.
We would.
But realistically, standard's pretty sweet right now.
It's all right.
Like, there's really nothing, like, people are like, oh, they should ban this. Like, no, even Shieldred, for being annoying, isn't even showing up in all that many decks right now. So it's like, nah, whatever. Like, we're fine.
Yeah. I think we found an equilibrium, particularly at least for standard. I think we found an equilibrium in that the removal is so good and so prevalent.
Almost too good.
Yeah, that any creature, even Shieldred, even one that is way above the power curve for whatever its cost is and yada yada, is not that big of a deal when it just dies to everything and every removal spell kills almost everything.
Yeah, it's weird that we've gotten here.
A lot too. Oh, go ahead, Ruben.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying it's weird that we've gotten here, considering how doom and gloom we were about standard relatively recently.
It's true. And
yeah, it's been fantastic for a while though. And it's a matter of the metagame still shifts a lot, because you remember there was a point where everybody was like, oh, this domain control is so good and we're gonna need to ban something in Atraxas, whatever. Now it's just another deck. You know what I mean? Like, it's just nobody's really complaining about it or whatever. It's like, it's annoying, but like, it's just another deck.
Like,
so, all right.
I would argue, and they point out here in the article I have on the screen here, you know, for me, the most powerful opening in standard is Voldaren Epicure, followed by Gleeful Demolition and 2 Knight of Aaron of Eos. So that's your, to me, the most powerful turn 2 thing you can do right now in the format. And it's very, very powerful.
Say that again?
Turn 1,
Voldaren Epicure,
which makes a blood token. Turn 2, Gleeful Demolition, destroying the blood token, make 3 1/1s.
Okay.
Tap all of them, Knight Errant of Eos.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's really good, and that's very powerful, and you can often draw 2 cards off that. And that's great. But again, that is your nuttiest nut draw that you're going to have, and the Voldaren Epicure is going to leave us as of rotation.
Yeah, in 2 months.
Right.
Awesome.
And a lot of times, Wizards will say things, they'll say things like this, like, look, you've got 2 months left to go just hog wild on this, random stuff. And if you want to and don't, if you want to fight against it, go for it. But you know it exists. You know what the best thing is. You can fight against it. They go through Pioneer and Modern and whatnot. My favorite bit about all of this is a bit about Timeless. Timeless on Arena, if you don't know, is the Wild West. I'm talking like unrestricted Necropotence, Dark Ritual, Wild West. It is incredibly nuts and incredibly silly and fun, in my opinion. And they were correct in that Timeless got a whole toy box dumped into it, because I can play Fury and Grief and Solidarity now, and it's absolutely amazing. And my favorite, so some of the best things I've ever seen on a Wizards website ever is there's a lot going on in Timeless right now. None of it is remotely fair, but so far it all seems fairly balanced.
Great. Perfect.
But
we did it.
That's a real thing, though, right? Like if
That's awesome.
everything is crazy and people playing
Yes.
it don't mind,
Right.
then cool.
It is the closest to constructed cube you will ever play,
Good.
and that all of your stuff is absolutely silly, but their stuff is also silly. So you're trying to out silly
sounds great.
each other, right? And if you could play 4 Black Lotuses, what would you do? Well, go to Timeless, and you'll see some wild stuff you can do when you play with 4 of just everything.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, and it's the first format in many, many years where I have spent dollars specifically so that I can get play sets of cards to play in that format. You know what I mean? Like, I had to give up the $20, so not only can I get my griefs, I also need my solitudes or whatever, and that just was what it was. But they're super awesome to play with.
You're a good example, though, of why some of these other formats exist, right? Like, it was the thing that brought you in. Like, you found the thing that keeps you engaged with their product, right? Yeah. And I think sometimes people forget that because they're not into the thing. Like, I don't play a lot of Pauper, but if Pauper is a thing that makes people happy and they play more Magic, then cool. They can support Pauper. Like, I don't have a problem with it.
Right. Yeah, so like I love that stuff. I love being able to build and try new decks and stuff all the time. And as I continue to lament, they're like 5 to 10 cards away from just straight up pure modern, and it drives me insane. Please bring to light before the end of the year. Thank you. But again, the fact that sort of nothing changed is the big announcement of the week. In that, you know what? All in all, formats are pretty good. Like They had Paupergeddon recently, and that was like super diverse. Like 7 out of the 8 decks were unique in the top 8, and like 16 of the top 32 were unique, and like all this stuff. And that's great. Amazing. So you ain't got to shake up what's just kind of working and chugging along. And God knows what's going to happen to the Pro Tour this weekend, because by the way, there's a Pro Tour this weekend, and that should be very exciting to watch. Both for limited, honestly, and constructed, because in limited, it's not sort of like powered down. Oh no, it's powered up. And,
I'll tell you this. I don't even know what Jim Davis is playing, but I'm rooting for him because he said he is the only one from everybody in the house playing the deck he's playing, and he went against everybody else's call.
Amazing.
And I'm like, dude, I respect the confidence. Like, win or lose, I am all for it.
I have heard multiple, Pro Tour winner stories that start right there.
Sure.
They go, no one else felt it was good enough or thought it was, 2 glass cannon or whatever it ends up being. And they rode it all the way to the top. And that happens, more than I've seen it.
I love it. Like, if you were just feeling a deck and everybody else isn't, and they're close, I love that you're going with the one that your heart's behind.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be great. The next BNR announcement will be August 26th. So that'll show up in a couple months, and if nothing changes, then we'll talk about it.
2 weeks after the set release, something like that.
A little further than that. The new set comes out 26th is the pre-release, so it's like August 2nd.
Yeah.
So it'll be like
just a couple weeks.
It'll be like 2 weeks after. I guess it'll be after the Pro Tour for that set. I'm thinking, because they don't like to change things for the Pro Tour, which makes a lot of sense. Either way, I thought that was rad. And we move out of the first pick here to gather the Townsfolk. Thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders, the best tool to enhance your Magic Online experience. Use the code MagicMikes_8N48 November 4 for 10% off your next subscription with them. Tell them we sent you. We appreciate it. That is nice. And so what we have now in the rear view is the release of Assassin's Creed, of a product that is closer to Aftermath than a regular booster box set.
Okay.
And I'm very happy to say it is no Aftermath. In fact,
well, we knew
it is. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, just to be clear, sales are there. It's doing okay. It's not killing it. It ain't Modern Horizons 3, but it ain't Murders at Karlov Manor either. It's a good kind of middle ground, sort of solid set. I think it's doing what they wanted to do. I think they juiced it in the right way with the reprints. The collector boosters are now kind of drying up a little bit. And I think what you saw literally industry-wide, and I assure you, Cool Stuffs of the world and or friends out there, big, large, card shops, they were scared to death of this product. This product was absolutely Like, you remember when you got burned last year? You remember when
Right.
you got in all that aftermath and you couldn't sell it and the singles didn't do all that great and it was a giant kerfluffle and the whole Pinkerton thing happened and everyone hated it? No one wanted to be a part of that. So everyone, at least that I could see, ordered pretty light. And so when that happens, the market basically says, is this okay? Is it going to work? And it's
Yeah.
okay and it's working. And then they start to go, okay, maybe I need a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, these collector boxes, which are usually low in supply anyway, well, not a lot of people got them. And so now people are asking for them, and suddenly it's hard to get those things. And so
Okay.
ultimately, it's nice to see that the set did not fail. And it's
Yeah.
nice to see that the seal is still going, if not strong, solid. And it didn't need to do much more than that, honestly, because I think there's some really kick-ass releases for this year. And it's nice that this is not, in my opinion, seen in any way as a failure. If anything, it's seen as, okay, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, yeah,
I think-
and that was the way I was eyeballing this is like, if it's at least not terrible, is really kind of the bottom line. Like, let's not be
The bar
trash.
was low, man. The bar was low.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
you could almost just step over the bar. Is that low? But it's like, if not, this does leave the door open for us to get other small licenses, right?
Yes.
Like, or what we would call less popular licenses. Because there's stuff that's like even Magic adjacent. We talk about like Conan or Red Sonja thing or whatever. You could do
Sure.
that Conan thing in like a little this aftermath style packaging. Maybe you don't do a 350 card set or whatever, but like, all right, we know this works and it might draw some people. So like, all right, we now have a thing that we can go to.
I think that it also, I mean, there's a number of things that a non-failure does for Magic of this product. I was always an Aftermath apologist. I liked the idea and I liked the effort. And on this show, we've always wanted them to take swings and
Sure.
live with the consequences. And
Right.
they missed this time on Aftermath, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't learn. That doesn't mean that it was an abject failure where nothing possibly could have come out of it. Aftermath set the bar low enough that this looks like a success. It also displayed a type of product release that was different than the traditional one, of either a full set of 300 cards or a special release of 5. Like, let us have something in between.
Right. And
This is honestly more akin to a small set, when they used to do things where they'd be like, oh, the big set was 350 cards. This one's only 150 cards, right?
right.
Assassin's Creed's 100 cards. Like, and they're legal and modern. This is basically a small set. So I really am optimistic about this being kind of a success.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm happy with that. If anything, Aftermath's also a terrific way to show to players who keep complaining about whatever they complain about, whatever. How do you make things change? You don't buy stuff, and you know what you didn't buy? Aftermath, and everyone took note of that. I assure you, and it changed things, and it stopped their plans for OTJ, and it changed the way I think they were doing ACR, from all that I can tell, and from also all I can tell, for the better. Like, OTJ still selling well singles, still unsealed, which is great. And Assassin's Creed, if not hitting the nerd points with the ACR nerds, is definitely hitting it with those who like some really neat commander cards that can do some really unique things. And overall, it was just a relief. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want anything to suck. I don't want anything to fail. But I can never forget, seared into my brain, is when I saw that first collector pack open from Aftermath, and it had like 3 of the same card, and I was like, oh God, no. And it just, it just went
like I
from
said,
there.
for me, the bigger thing is at least having this be at least a middling success, is that it leaves that door open for other properties, right? Because there's some that you just can't do full sets of, or maybe they don't break down into factions cleanly to do a commander set or something. This leaves everything still on the table, which is kind of a cool thing.
It's true. So speaking of new things that are cool and interesting, and also speaking of, in my opinion, Wizards, you got real close to something that was such a slam dunk. I would have been over here singing all the praises. I'll sing a few praises, but I think you could do a lot harder and do a lot better than what we see here. Now, take a look right here at introducing Arena Direct. The idea that if you win events on Magic Arena, you get physical boxes of Magic the Gathering cards delivered directly to your door through this program. I think that's fantastic. It's a whole series of events. You compete in them for physical rewards to be shipped after the series is over. For what it's worth, they do have the caveat of sending you cash upon, if they don't want to, but whatever. Either way, you can play in this event and you can get a box of Modern Horizons 3 play boosters sent to your house. So, okay. So here we were. We were right there at the finish line. So imagine, I recognize not everyone has a local game store that is close to them or, that close to them. But if it was possible and or you knew a certain radius, if you could have these boxes sent to your local game store to pick up, you may get involved with your community. You may draft with some people who are hanging out. You may just open some stuff right there on a table and talk about what you got. You may ingratiate yourself to your store and community in ways that you would never do here. We're not in COVID anymore. This type of thing would absolutely slap if you would push it to the stores and not to the houses. And again, I recognize some people are 50 minutes, 2 hours away. I understand that. But Lord Almighty, the amount of people you would get in local game stores who likely don't know they exist or have never been in it before or don't know how it works and they were intimidated and yada, 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 I think would just blow the doors off versus just sending these to people's houses.
I'm with you, but I also know, sadly, like we kind of talked about in the pre-show, anything that involves retailers, they'd find a way to mess it up on a grand scale. I mean, dude, and they're my people. I don't
like how right you are.
But exactly, I'm not lying. Like they'd find some way to complicate it, or they'd put some caveats, or they'd do a thing, or not open at the right hours, or blah. Like there'd be some bump in the road. I do still think there needs to be more integration between, not something that takes you from Arena to the store, not just from the store to Arena, right? Like I think we need to figure out what that is. That's easy to deal with. I don't know what it looks like yet, but there needs to be something. This at least puts physical cards in people's hands, so maybe they think about building some decks or doing whatever, and then at some point they say, I have cards, let me see if I go do something with them.
Yeah, you guys are going to be much better resources to talk about this thing than me. I've never run a game store, so.
Well, I would note that, and I can certainly hear if this is in the walls of Wizards, they will say, look, we've already got an integration right now. If you go and draft 2 or 3 times at your store, you get a draft token on Arena, and that's great. No one's saying that's bad. That's a fantastic promotion. High five, keep it up. What I'm saying is that when you have this type of promotion type giveaway, you want to talk about taking people and putting them into communities.
Yep.
It's so tough to build those communities. It's so tough to get in the new blood, first of all, and to get into people who are too intimidated or too afraid or whatever, shy, that they don't feel like it's their, space or whatever you want to call it. This is a way to do that. And so when I see this happen and I'm just, Wizards, you were so close. It just, the heart breaks a little bit. And then I know Power Dragon's right and that they would screw it up somehow.
So we might have a little bit of an ear. We might have a little bit of someone might pay attention to this show. You say they're close.
I think
specifically where?
In that you're sending product to people who largely interact with the game on a digital level. You're giving them physical paper product. And so to get to also showcase where you can play with that physical product, where you can hang out and see other people with that physical product.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you could sell that product because you open some really expensive singles and maybe you want to maybe you want to build your first commander deck, or maybe you wanted to buy a pre-con of so on. I mean, there's a variety of ways that this would ingratiate yourself.
But
for
dude,
the
if you
stores
look
as
at
well.
the list of countries, this would be hard to do that in a lot of these places.
It could be very difficult.
We're freeform now. We're jazz. Come on, play with me.
Now, I do agree with
literally,
the
what is the step?
I do agree with the comment. That's where I was going to go. Like the old Duels of the Planeswalker promo, right? Where you just sent the stores a stack of whatever it was. I think it was like 50 promos or something or whatever. And you could always order more from Wizards. But players went online, they played Duel of the Planeswalkers, they printed out a little code, you bring the thing to the store checks it off and gives you the promo, right? So if you wanted this thing, you had to go to the store to get it.
Right.
I think we could do something like that in Arena, especially between like Arena and the companion app. If you go into the store, they could mark you as having got a thing, so you can't go back and do it again or whatever the case is. Like, there's an easy way to make that happen, I'm sure, between those items. Like,
I mean,
why not?
it got to the point where we just don't bring it up anymore. The idea of
Sure.
having a code in packs that give you like a digital pack on Arena or whatever. And I also recognize how difficult that is to even, test, to pilot. Because you can't really test pilot. Even you go hardcore or you don't. Now, they already have the codes in the pre-release packs, so they have some amount of data on how effective that is, but they've never been willing to go that far. So
If I
it's
remember
weird.
right,
The roads on both sides are kind of like truncated.
back in 20, man, I'm gonna get this wrong. There was a period of time where they tested, I believe in Australia, they tested just that region
Mhm.
to put, it wasn't like one in every pack. I want to say it was like 6 or 8 codes per box.
Mhm.
And they tested that in that region with either 1 or 2 sets, but I don't know whatever came of that. So I don't know if they just decided it wasn't worth it or people didn't care and it didn't change the amount of sales or who knows what.
Who knows?
But I think some number like, 1 code per 3 or 4 packs would probably still be plenty if it just got you like a booster pack online.
Right.
Like I wouldn't have a problem with those. I mean, maybe they figure there's a dollar loss if you do 1 pack for pack, but like, I don't know.
Or
6
you
or
could
7 in a box is still good enough,
Right. I mean, basically anything, and I learned this a long time ago, anything in a Magic pack that's in there beyond 100% pure advertisement is worth money. Whether it's
Yeah.
an art card, whether it's a checklist card, whether it's a token or whatever, all of it's worth money. And if they put that in there, they would just be adding value to packs. And that's great. And so the idea that there wouldn't be a ton of overhead on that, which there would be some, and
Sure.
B, that the players will respond, of course, obviously. But, again, the idea that here we have the digital, the paper kind of won't go further enough in the digital, and the digital won't go further enough in the paper, and it's like, and then I feel like we're in those silo situations. You have the paper silo over here, you have the digital silo over here.
Yeah.
Sometimes they talk to each other, but it's not easy, and I don't know if they like doing it. We want to move on here. We want to congratulate Tolarian Community College for reaching 1 million subscribers to that YouTube channel. That is fantastic. That is larger than the official channel, which has always been funny ever since he passed that mark. And yeah, Brian has done an amazing job. And at this point, has a host of people working for him like full time. Makes some fantastic programs, fundraises some fantastic programs. It's hard to say too many good things about it in that it's become a true pillar of the community.
Yeah, there's a point where, you go from being a creator to being a business. And I think he understood that pretty well early on.
Right.
And he's kind of taken that to heart and ran with it. So good on him.
Absolutely. There was a point there in 2010 where I felt like I had something similar in terms of opportunity, chances, and so on. But I had children, and I was like, I got to provide them medical insurance and things like that. And I felt a lot safer going with a full-time job at Star City than I did,
Sure.
essentially walking out on a wire. And I hope you like me as my full-time job type thing. And that's very scary in a world where I don't want to disappoint a family, right? And not be there or have the funds to do the things and so on. So to see him be able to do that is brilliant, and I love it. And congratulations to those guys.
It is hard to take the jump off of the cliff. Stuff like having kids, stuff like having worry or a job.
Mortgages,
mortgages,
car payments, insurance
feeling
payments.
like you have to do the safer thing will take out 90% of the people who get to the position where maybe someday they could have this type of success and this type of following. And to see someone who, I have had very small interactions with the professor. I'm by no means a friend or even a colleague. But he has always been kind. He has always been professional. He's always tried to lift people up. He's never shut the door behind him. And to have him have that amount of success, he's the person you want having that kind of success. So for us as a community of Magic the Gathering players, to have somebody like the Professor as our most popular YouTube channel and have them be this paragon of good and have them be this just nice man on all accounts, just no one has anything seriously bad to say. Like we've gotten so lucky with these paragons of the game at the top
Yeah.
of their careers, and he's just another one of these examples.
To your point, we kind of have gotten lucky, right, as Magic players, because at some point we had some, to put it politely, some serious ne'er-do-wells near the top of the list for a minute.
We had a scumbag or two hanging out.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, listen,
just-
it hasn't
just
always
being
been
real.
Brian. It hasn't always been Tolarian Community College.
Yeah,
We've had some bad eggs.
I feel like if we look around right now, the people at the top, we're talking about Tolarian Community College, the guys over at yeah,
Game nights and
game
Command
nights,
Zone.
they're doing
Yep.
their thing. Even Brian and Olivia with their stuff, like
Oh yeah, good luck,
we've
have fun, peeps. Maria and friends.
at some point turned the corner to where we're like, oh, okay, now we're pushing the right people, and they're the ones voicing all the things. So I don't know how we got here, considering how we started, but I'm glad we did.
Well, and I also think there's the fact that we've basically kind of lost a ton of what I would describe as sort of the competitive edge content.
Sure.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Just so much of that has kind of gone by
Did-
the wayside.
Shove some of
Little
that
bit's still there,
away.
but-
That's true.
So much has gone away. And now it's
Oh.
mainly focused on let's have fun. Let's enjoy each other. Let's make each other laugh, right? And that is a whole different attitude than what we had for a long time.
Yeah, we had some people who now make a living on we'll call it the other side of the aisle too, that used to be here, and kind of glad those people are out of our circle.
All right. So, with that said, let's move on here to a fun story about Dan Frazier's fire breathing. That thing that showed up in Alpha. How much are Alpha artworks worth? Well, this one ended up being worth $90,000 for good old-fashioned fire breathing.
I mean, when you close your eyes and you picture Magic card art, even though I've probably not cast this card very much, if ever, the art is so iconic and so indelible for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's a high quality piece of that like early 90s style, classic fantasy, and something that someone can hang in their home and probably have to explain, but not be like, let me explain. Which some of those early Magic arts you kind of have to do.
Sure.
This one is great, and this one is I'm excited for this one to find a home, clearly with someone who really wants it.
You know what's crazy is, like, I had this conversation a while back and said, if you go back 15 years, what Magic cards would you buy? And I literally said I would buy Magic card. Like, there was a period of time, really up until recent, where you used to be able to buy stuff for, a couple hundred maybe
bucks.
$1,000, for a piece. And we're seeing all types of artwork just sell for crazy numbers now. So I'm like, man, that's what I would buy. I would have bought a stack of artwork, stuck it in a garage or something, put it in a Rubbermaid bin, and just wait 15 years. Because that was a strategy, man. We have all kinds of artwork selling. So this is cool. And, happy for the person who owned it, because, man, that's a good chunk of change.
Yeah, the idea that art was, and particularly this is like right when I got into Cool Stuff. One of the owners of Cool Stuff is huge into buying original Magic art. He's got a ton of it, and it's really super cool. But you could definitely tell right around there, like 2016 onward, it just took this giant leap upwards where all of a sudden people are like, wait a minute, this is really classic stuff that's really impactful, and we need to get this.
And they're one of ones. That's the thing. They're all one of ones.
And then all of a sudden the sketches started to be worth, a couple $100 by themselves versus just the actual painting and so on. But it's been wild to look at. And last thing here, which is interesting for a really kind of odd reason, and chat, feel free to let me know if I do not have this correct. There have been textless cards. We're talking about, think of Cryptic Command, right? Think of Wrath of God. Think of Damnation. Cool. No problem. Those are spells. Every textless creature that's ever been made has had its power and toughness in the bottom right-hand corner. Well, you take a look at this Sakura Tribe Elder. that is going to be part of the Love Your Local Game Store 2024 promotion. And that Sakura Tribe Elder has no power and toughness in the bottom right hand corner.
Yep.
That's weird.
And I don't think that's a mistake.
No.
I don't think that's, I think they meant that very intentionally in that, no, textless, creatures can now be literally just straight up. Here's the card name, here's the mana cost, and here's a really cool picture. Enjoy it.
I mean, I don't hate it on a card like this, but if you wanted to put a
Questing
I'm trying
Beast?
to think of something crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Sure.
That Questing Beast couldn't happen. I don't eat.
Questing Beast could absolutely happen. If they get Cryptic Command, they can Questing Beast. That's all I'm saying.
Questing Beast has even more text. Like another 25% text on it, I think.
For the lols, please, for the lols.
But even like the 5/4 dragon, like whatever it is, when another creature comes into play, deals damage to a thing, or whatever. Like I don't even know if you could do that textless. And that's one we kind of easily can communicate. But I also think like the people who really want the Sakura Tribe Elder, like everybody knows what it does. We've seen it reprinted, 20 times now or whatever. There's a bunch out there. I think this is a safe one. And it is actually kind of a cool promo for like bringing your friends in and whatever. Like I kind of dig it.
There are 7 textless creature promos from Dark Confidant to Omnath, Logos of Creation, and all of them have power and toughness boxes.
Yes.
Sure.
This one. This is the 8th.
I'm okay with this though.
Yeah,
this is simple enough
I think
that
I'm
I don't
coming
think
around.
it needs anything.
I think I'm coming around to
To
it.
be clear, I think this is cool and brilliant. I love
When you first said it, I was like,
silly.
please, God, let's have power and toughness on creatures. But I guess I'm coming around.
At a certain point, I think you get to be so iconic. Literally one of the most played Magic cards in the world that you're like, well, you're going to know what a Sakura Tribe is.
It's almost always either being sacrificed before it gets to your turn,
Right.
or you're blocking with it and sacrificing it and doesn't kill anything anyway.
So
it almost doesn't have power and toughness other than the fact that at least gets to block,
Right. And there's no more damage on the stack.
Yeah.
If there were, I could at least understand that argument that we need to see the power because it's going to be dealt with later and so on.
Right.
But yeah, it just kind of blocks and dies, blocks and sacks, sometimes attacks every once in a while, but most of the time doesn't. Most of the time it just dies. So that was cool and unique. I love when things are weird and cool and unique like that. For whatever reason, there's a sea change, and we're just here to hang on for the rest of it, which I thought was rad. All right. With that said, we're going to turn the corner here to the finisher. Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3 and MagicCon Amsterdam are coming this weekend. We got a lot coming to the table, so tell me, what are you looking for most as Magic returns to the Netherlands, Ruben?
Well, everyone's favorite thing about Amsterdam is, of course, the red light district. So I'm hoping for a red resurgence in Modern, because burn is much better to have take over your professional Magic event than your urban district of relaxed sexual regulations.
Wow. Feel the burn.
I really thought that was going to go somewhere even rougher. So, good hit.
That's why I gave me that punchline.
He knows how to roll it. Very nice.
Yeah.
Power Dragon?
All right, so one of the Netherlands' biggest claims to fame is tulips and the famous flower market explosion and crash. So I'm looking forward to a crazy off-the-wall, out-of-nowhere 2-card combo deck. Or better yet, a 2-lip combo deck.
If only Nadu worked into that somehow.
Exactly.
Like Nadu and Shuko, if we could somehow work that would have been amazing. Look, only one person will emerge from the Pro Tour as a champion, and everyone else will wonder what could have been. Fortunately, though, Amsterdam is basically the only place on the planet that after taking a bad beat, you can literally go tilting at windmills.
Yeah, that's true.
I was really proud of that punchline.
That's a good one.
Hey, any Don Quixotes, man, I'm on. I'm on.
Yeah, any Cervantes fans in the audience tonight?
Yeah, very nice. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Power Dragon.
Hey, it's always good to be here. We made it through another week.
We did. Thank you, Ruben.
Hey, thanks for tuning in, everybody. And Amazing news. There's a raid preview option now in Twitch.
Ooh.
So I can guarantee that someone's online.
Oh my God.
That's actually genius. Thank you, Twitch.
It's incredible.
Thanks.
There's a raid browser.
A raid browser. All right. Well, that's pretty rad. And that said, we're going to move on here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, Power Dragon, and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us on our exclusive member Discord, live on twitch.tv at Magic Mics, live or taped on our YouTube channel. Follow us on follow us on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast and on TikTok at Magic Mics Cast, or join us here next week. Same time, same place for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.